to this short Q&A for Bench2Biz, the workshop for young and aspiring entrepreneurs in science and technology. Our first interviewee is Eliav Haskal from the National Center of Competence in Research Bio-Inspired Materials at the University of Freiburg.
Yes, let's chat for a little bit. So Bench2Biz prepares a team which has a technical or technological or scientific idea that they want to push into a product, an innovation, a service, and eventually a business. It provides them the necessary tools to understand what type of questions they should be asking themselves about their idea, their product, their service, and their business idea. What this means effectively is that the teams, typically people sign up in groups of 2 or 3, but you can sign up by yourself. The teams come out with basically a 20-odd set of PowerPoint slides. And I realize that doesn't sound very impressive or very important. But frankly, every PowerPoint slide asks a specific question that you have to think about. It's introduced as a template. And with your team of coaches, IP experts, legal experts, business experts, technical experts, because there's an entire team around you, you get 45 minutes of brainstorming to fill in that slide. And this happens then 20 odd times. At the end, what the end result is are the initial steps toward I would say, toward a business plan. Now, part of this slide set you can use as a pitch. Part of this slide set is something that you develop later into a revenue model. And part of the slide set is something that you use later to identify what type of resources you may need, and in terms of people or lab space or what have you. And that helps sort of plant a seed in your mind to help you understand as early as possible what type of things you should be thinking about.
So this kind of pre-seed workshop makes me wonder, when is the optimal time to participate at Bench2Biz? Can it be too early or too late?
So not all teams are accepted to the program. That's the first thing. We try to get teams that are really in that sweet spot between not too early and not too late. When you have a technical result which you believe is valuable, and you think you've reached the point where you say, you know what, I think I really have something here, and you start considering intellectual property, maybe filing a patent with the university, and you really started to think about, gee, what could I do with this? How could I leverage this a little bit? So would it be a product? Would it be a service? And you start coming up with an idea about where this could work, who you could sell this to. That's really the earliest point that you should be joining. If you just have a scientific result, maybe related to a PhD or a master's thesis, and you haven't really put any thought into how useful it could be, you won't benefit as much from this program. Now, on the other side, people that have already had obviously created a company or had sales revenue, so they're dealing intimately with customers in terms of a first product which they developed onto the market, it's a little bit late for you, this program, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to capture sort of pre-embryonic ideas and help them along the path to become embryonic ideas. While your idea has already developed out of the embryonic stage, and perhaps it's maybe even reached birth. So at that point, I think it's a lot of what you'll hear about the value proposition or about the financial resource requirements to set something up might be a little bit of a time waste for you. Now, if selected, the applicants, the applications are then examined, and from our group of experts, consisting of technical experts, experienced business coaches, technology transfer experts, intellectual property experts. And we're always considering people with a management background to join as an expert team. We then assign a group of the most logical match from our pool of experts to the applicants. Now, once the applicants find out that they've been approved into the program, soon afterward, they'll find out who their team members are. And there'll be first contact. So the entire program lasts about 2 weeks, but it's only, I believe, 5 half days on Zoom with homework in between. The coaches make themselves available throughout the entire period. I'd like to add that after having done this for 5 years, I'm still in touch with quite a number of teams, even after all these years, who ask me questions years later and say, we don't know what to do with this. We're selling our product and we're making a lot of money, but we're entering a new market. Perhaps we could have a brainstorm with you. So this is building your network with a team of experts who have their own networks, which will last for many, many years. There's a lot we don't do. Obviously, an MBA is a full program, and I certainly don't want to denigrate my colleagues at the business schools who provide a full framework. Bench2Biz is only 5 lessons of 2 weeks. As a next step up, there is the InnoSwiss business business training, concept training. That's a whole semester of one evening a week for 3 or 4 hours, I believe. You could ask me the same question. Is that like a mini MBA, or is it just really about the practical issues? I think after having worked in both the business concept training and having worked many years in the Bench2Biz, I'd answer your question this way. Bench2Biz is really the hardest tax, basic first step to understanding what it means to create a business from your technical result, and to giving you as fast as possible a thumbs up or a thumbs down answer, which is really critical. Now, if you want to go and do the InnoSwiss, for example, business concept training, you'll get a lot of theoretical background about how to do net present value calculations or what it means to pitch or things like that. And they will help develop an idea also to make it ready for the creation of a business. It doesn't necessarily give you a quick thumbs up or a quick thumbs down. It does provide the materials for later making this decision if you have a good idea or a better idea later. An MBA doesn't necessarily provide you this at all. There are entrepreneur courses in business schools across the country. A lot of them insist that somewhere in the semester of entrepreneurship that you come up with an idea and develop it. So you're asking yourself the same questions that we teach you in these 5 lessons for Bench2Biz. But clearly everything around, for example, the broader scope of entrepreneurship, including social entrepreneurship or specific areas of entrepreneurship, for example, finance, technology, or whatever. There's all the elements such as how to market, so entire marketing courses, which we don't do. We basically tell you, you're going to have to figure this out. You might want to hire a manager, actually somebody with an MBA, because that's probably the right thing to do eventually, is to bring in an expert who's going to take care of these things for you, just like taking in someone with finance experience. Because a PhD or a master's student with an engineering or natural science background doesn't necessarily have the skill sets to do these things and to push them into a serious professional environment. So is it a mini MBA? No. What it is really this thumbs up, thumbs down to your idea and providing you the minimum set of tools to understand how to consider your idea, whether it may have value as a business.
Thank you very much, Eliav, for these detailed insights on Bench2Biz. Now let's wrap up. If you want to participate or want to know more, check out bench2biz.ch.